I'm all right. Hell no. Joaquin said dominate, and we not doing it.
Here from the 3. Streaks across the 30. He might be gone.
It's up. Gaston to the right. Oh,
they got blockers. They got blockers. They've got a lane.
Into the end zone. Touchdown, Miami. Darrell Langham with the grab.
Stars intercepted. Look out. Trajan Bandy, the true freshman. We got the truth again.
Because when the U is on and the U brings it, there's nothing like it. We got to get this. And it's going to take everybody.
What's up, Canes fam? It is Monday, January 12th, and your Miami Hurricanes, everyone, hold on to where you're sitting. Hold on tight. If you're driving, pull over. What I'm about to say, your Miami Hurricanes are going to the national championship. That is real. That is happening. They defeat Ole Miss in the college football playoff semifinals to earn a trip back home at Hard Rock Stadium to play the Indiana Hoosiers in the, I'm going to say it again very slowly, the national championship. The U is back. Curt, first of all, Jimmy's not even here. It's the podcast after we made it to the national championship, and Jimmy is not here. That's a whole nother story. But Curt is here. Curt hasn't missed an episode yet all year. How are we doing? How are we feeling? Does any of this feel real?
It's just been unbelievable. No, I don't think it does. I can't believe the journey that this season has been, and for it to ultimately, climax in a national championship game in Miami Gardens, not South Beach, Miami Gardens, Florida.
Yeah, but there will be plenty of clips of South Beach. I mean, I am looking
cameras
for
on South Beach.
Sports Center live from South Beach all week. It'll be beautiful.
Yep. But it's unbelievable. I mean,
it's unbelievable.
It's just for it to be not only the Canes and getting back to this point from our perspective, but to ultimately be matching up against Indiana. I mean, just all around. I mean, you talk about a paradigm shift for college football and, for the sport. And Indiana's been the best team all season long, right? And at one point, we thought and maybe still think that we are the best team in the country, but for it to be a Miami Indiana national championship at Hard Rock Stadium it's unbelievable.
It's absolutely unbelievable. And you know what? There is nobody that I would rather play than a 15-0 number one team in the country, Indiana. If this whole season has been just a dream season, and to be able to the final game, it culminates with getting to play against the best team in the country, without a doubt, in Indiana. It's just at Hard Rock Stadium. I remember because these bowls get announced years prior, and I remember when I saw it was going to be Hard Rock for January 2026. In the back of your mind, you're like, that'd be cool. What if Miami's in that? But the fact that is actually happening, it's just crazy. I mean, we're in the national championship. They wanted to leave us out of the playoffs, and we are in the national championship. I'll never get over this feeling. Regardless of what happens in a week, I'll never get over this feeling.
I agree, and I think it's nice the way that this has all happened, and for ultimately this to be year 4 under Mario Cristobal, and it's been a classic. I just think the story is unbelievable. I mean, it's a guy coming home to his alma mater, down the street from where he went to high school. He worked his way up the ladder, a little unconventional, offensive line coach, ultimately, working his way up to a school like Oregon, and winning a Pac-12 championship, winning a Rose Bowl, but not being able to get over the hump. And, there was chatter out there that, their fans were, in my opinion, a little ungrateful for what Mario was doing there. And just to see it where the Miami job opens up and it was like, it's finally time to make this move and to bring Mario back in, but both parties were ready. And it started out, again, just the build of this thing. It started out with ugly losses, and obviously Middle Tennessee State getting blown out by them at home was the rock bottom. And then you started to see the small wins. You started to see, beating Clemson in overtime, and things started to turn on the recruiting trail. And
yeah,
for
you always point back to that
ultimately lead
Clemson
this
game,
point.
and I think
That's
I
what
think
I
it's a
think.
fair. I agree. I think that was. I mean, there was like a few moments before the I think the Clemson game was like a turning point where it's like
That's the one for me, because we remember Emory Williams was the quarterback, and
Yes.
and we'll always appreciate Emory for that game.
yeah,
But he wasn't spectacular. That was the first time where we saw Miami dominate an elite
in the line,
college football team at the line of
scrimmage.
scrimmage.
Yep, 100%. And you know what? And you mentioned it. It's like the fact, like Mario Cristobal being on those national championship teams as a player for Miami, and then the full circle moment of he's now leading that same squad, that same program to a national championship. It's literally what movies are made of. It's unbelievable. And we are
for
just
it to be
lucky to be a
accomplished
part of it.
back in, again, we're not to get ahead, or it's certainly not. But the way that the stars are potentially aligning for it to happen in Miami would just be, you can't make this up. I mean,
A beautiful thing. Prices for the game are a little different than they were when old Mario Cristobal was winning national championships as a player. So that is a whole nother story. Have we been able to get tickets, Curt? Or are we still? Yeah.
my they'll release another allotment for season ticket holders on Tuesday.
Tuesday. Okay.
So I'll check.
Yeah.
But
Fingers crossed.
It doesn't look good.
Yeah, it's tough for a lot of people, but regardless, it's going to be a great atmosphere. And even just outside of the game, like throughout the week, just South Florida in general, the city of Miami, it's going to be absolutely electric. Okay, before we get into the Ole Miss game and kind of breaking that game down, normally we do an aftermath report for these games. Both Curt and I, we dropped the ball on that this week. Neither of us did an aftermath report. Would love to try to improvise through one, but that would be a complete and utter disaster, I'm sure, and would probably get one of us canceled. So instead, what we are going to do is just take a little trip down memory lane of how your Miami Hurricanes got to this point this season, because it is January 12th. There's been a lot of football played. I mean, we started this season in August at Hard Rock Stadium against Notre Dame. It's been a journey, my friend. And so let's just go through each game and just let's just think about how we got here. Like, I feel like we've been in the playoffs for so long, you kind of forget about the journey that led us here. So we start off August 31st against Notre Dame. This was the first time. Like, it was obviously a giant game, two top-ranked teams, top 10 teams, and this was, you're talking about the Clemson game when the line of scrimmages looked similar. Miami actually had the edge there. This was a game early on that we're like, okay, there's something special here about this team in the physicality that we play with.
Yep, absolutely. I think the score was close, and certainly respect Notre Dame for hanging in there with a
27-24
quarterback, making his first start on the road. The atmosphere was incredible, but it was a game that we took a lot from, because Miami really did dominate that game from start to finish, and it was the first time in a while that we had won a big game, and the talk wasn't turned turnover chain, four turnovers, or it was Miami dominance.
Yeah. And ultimately, this game was the source of all of the discussion, whether or not Miami should be in, all the tiebreakers, and then you have the C.J. Daniels unbelievable catch. We didn't know at the time really just how much was riding on that win that we had, but it was huge. We then go in, Bethune-Cookman, 45-3, methodical, did what you had to do against a bad team.
I think after this game, we kind of thought, before the game, we saw Mario and Bethune-Cookman's head coach. I believe they've coached together before, and they were pretty lovey-dovey at midfield,
Yes.
and there seemed to be some mutual respect there.
Yes. Could have put 100 on him.
And I think the score reflected that. This was like a slow. It was just like a slow bludgeoning.
Yes.
We just absolutely dominated, but in 43 points was like the least amount of points that we could have scored.
Definitely. And then come the USF Bulls, and at this was the game that you got Miami already with the big win under their belt. USF is now ranked after coming off a win against Florida. Everyone's putting Miami on upset alert this game, and we go out and absolutely dominate.
Yep. I think once again, this was the eyes of the country were on us, and shockingly on the CW network for this one.
That's right.
And just the pressure that came with this game, I think it was great to see the way the team responded and the way the team handled this. Remember, there was that rain delay. I took the family to this game, and
I was gonna say, you were there.
Just a brutal rain delay that we ended up leaving early, but this was also the game where we started to see more of the freshmen coming out and starting to really appreciate this recruiting class that Mario put together. Josh Moore was outstanding. Bryce Fitzgerald was starting to get into the action more. And obviously Malachi Toney just continued to ascend as well.
Yep, and then it is it's just a week. I don't know why I said quick turnaround, because it was literally a Saturday to Saturday. But then you've got Florida rivalry game. Florida coming off of a tough loss, but their season is still on the train tracks. They still have a lot to play for. They still think DJ Lagway is going to be their quarterback. There's a lot riding on this game. Big rivalry at Miami. We were there, and another just dominant victory that the scoreboard didn't reflect just how much Miami dominated this game, 26-7.
That's right. Again, it was Florida's defense at this point looked really good. It looked like one of the better units in the country, and we saw Carson Beck battle through some adversity in this game. This was the fourth quarter was where we just started to impose our will, and obviously anytime you do that against an SEC team and an in-state rival, big school like Florida, I think we started to see the potential of what this team was going to be.
And then you you have the bye week, and then you get to the Florida State game. So Florida State is coming off of their first loss at this point, but this is still the first ranked Miami-Florida State matchup in a very long time. It's at Florida State. It's a night game. The place, I would put the atmosphere that was at this game, I would put over Texas A&M even in the playoff game. Like, it was rowdy. It was crazy. You could just kind of feel it through your TV that like the Miami-Florida State energy was there. And then this is where the season gets a little weird, because if you remember, Miami, the first three quarters looked like the number one team in the country, just absolutely dominating Florida State. And then the fourth quarter came, and Florida State had that weird comeback that the game was never in doubt, but it was as sloppy as it gets. And this is where the season started to get a little weird.
Yeah, and I think looking back, I think that the fourth quarter of that game, as much as we didn't want to read into it and to me personally, I had thought for a long time it just didn't matter. We dominated Florida State, but I think at this point it's safe to look back and say that this was used as sort of the blueprint that would ultimately cause us to stumble in 2 of the next 3 games. Just what Florida State was able to do with their up-tempo and quick passing game, the way the desperation play that they showed, it kind of poked. It didn't poke holes in the defense, but it showed, how you could beat this team. So I think hindsight now is like that fourth quarter in the Florida State game. It meant a lot more than I gave it credit for at the time.
Yeah. And this was smack in the middle of that weird, we play bye week.
Yeah.
And so now here we are going against Louisville at the time, I believe we're now number 3 in the country going into this game, something like that.
I think we were number 2.
Number 2. And this is a Friday night game. And it was like you go into it knowing, is this Miami team going to be different? Can they handle an ACC game on a Friday night? And ultimately, it was Carson Beck's worst game of his career. And we fall to Louisville for the first time, for our first loss of the season. And you start to get a little worried.
Yep. This was I don't know. I wasn't sure. There were times in this game where you kind of thought, like, is Carson Beck going to just go down the toilet for the rest of the season? And I think we had kind of mentioned, like, what this was going to look like the rest of the season and what our, kind of options were. Not like benching, but just there was a concern. Because he went like 3 quarters without making a pass that had any kind of confidence to it, no decisiveness. But I think the encouraging thing in this game was just the resilience of the team and how we were ultimately there at the end.
Yes.
As bad as that performance was on the offense and as kind of degrading or just like devastating it felt on the defensive side. The offense put us into some tough spots, and Louisville ultimately only scored 24 points.
It is crazy to look at this game now in hindsight, like what we've now seen, how our defense has played in this playoffs and how Carson Beck has played, and to look back, this is October 17th, and just how different this team looked. And we'll start to see in the next few weeks the turning point of the coaching staff and the players, and it's like the ability to just kind of like lock in and know what you've got. But this was the start of that. So you're like, okay, 1 loss. It's a Friday night. It's weird. I never want to play a Friday night game ever again. You now have your get right game against Stanford. But this one was, if you remember, that first half was what was it, like a 14-7 game? It was something weird.
14-7.
Yeah. And that's coming off of the fourth quarter of Florida State, the loss to Louisville. Now you've got this first half, and it's like, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is also kind of the point where the penalty situation started to rear its head, and we also thought, that was starting to get out of control as well. But again, it's, I think Louisville had a good game plan, and I do think that, you pointed it out. I think the bye week thing did end up being kind of weird for us. Going Florida bye week, Florida State bye week, and I don't know,
Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night.
Saturday.
Just kind of a weird point in the season, but
it'll
be remembered as the Carson Beck game.
Yes, and then you have SMU. So this was going into this game it was week 1 of November 1st, literally. You've got the storylines.
Stanford first, right? Wasn't Stanford was?
That's what I was talking about. We just
Okay.
did Stanford. We just did Stanford. I said the first half was 14-7. That was Stanford. Right?
Yeah.
Did
yeah.
I have
All
a
right,
stroke?
All right.
All right.
No. That's
We're good.
me. My
Yeah,
brain's yeah.
And then you said this will be remembered as the Carson Beck game. I just assume you're flashing back to
his
Louisville.
bounce back game. Yeah.
Oh, okay, whatever.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. Just,
Well, now we've
Wow.
covered Stanford 42-7. Now you've got SMU November 1st, and you've got the storylines going in that Mario Cristobal can't win in November. This is when Miami collapses. It is a team that was in the ACC championship playoff last year, and you're on the road at SMU, and you play your second worst game of the season. You shoot yourself in the foot over and over, and ultimately you lose in overtime after a Carson Beck interception. It was the worst referee game we've ever seen. It was all of that. But at this point, majority of the fan base, minus me, thought the season's over.
Yeah. It just the AC. This is once you get into November, and you're running through the scenarios of how are we going to get into the ACC championship game, and with how quirky the ACC ended up being, and as we're kind of racking our brains on how it's going to get there, I just, it felt like losing 2 out of 3 and staring at some opponents that we thought were ultimately gonna give us some more issues, right? Because the style points talk kind of started, and we knew that at Pitt, was going to be looming, and at Virginia Tech, who knows? We've just, I think those thoughts of the last 20 years, it started to creep in, and it started to feel like it just wasn't. It was going to be another season that just kind of slipped out of our fingertips at the end, and that we would look back and say, really, like, roughing the passer on 3rd and 15, all of the missed calls in that game, and just it just felt like it wasn't going to happen.
Absolutely. And then you go, so now it's literally do or die. You have to win out. Like you said, you're now looking for style points at this point, and even that you're not sure is going to be enough because you just dropped to number 18 in. And hang on, let me mute these freaking messages that are coming to my computer. I have no idea how to log out to iMessages on my laptop. Anyways, like, it's literally impossible. It just keeps popping back up. You now have to win out and then hope for things to happen, most likely, because you have dropped all the way to number 18 in the playoff rankings, and Notre Dame is a whole 9 spots ahead of you, maybe at this point. And so here we go. This is a specific moment, and Curt, let me see if you can name the specific moment. So you're playing Syracuse, home game against Syracuse. The game once again starts off slow, and then do you know the moment that this entire season changed?
The pick six?
No, not the pick six, but that was a moment. I completely forgot about the pick six, to be honest with you. As I was setting you up there.
The Carson Beck
Yes.
receiving touchdown.
Yes.
Yeah.
We finally saw a wrinkle, a trick play, something different from Shannon Dawson, and it changed. The vibe on the team changed at that point.
That was, we were struggling up to that point again.
Yes.
We could not score. First half of this game. We couldn't, and it did. It felt like there was kind of a lull, and the defense at this point was certainly hitting its stride.
Yes.
And was just fantastic. But yeah, you're right. This is where we started to kind of wonder the talk surrounding Shannon Dawson. I know our group message with the three of us. I was
done with him.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I was absolutely done with him, and then it shifted, and we head right into NC State, and like this is when you start like. You had the CJ Bailey coming home talk and his homecoming game, and this was like our first big time dominant win on both sides of the ball that we hadn't seen since, the Florida game.
I agree. I think this one really convinced me that the culture was different because the Syracuse game, we also had the CC Maui Noah touchdown, and there was part of me that kind of just thought, I agreed with you guys that the vibes were high, but I still thought it was kind of gimmicky, and I didn't think we found anything
that was
really
Syracuse.
concrete, that was repeatable. And I picked, do you remember my final score prediction for this game was like it was like 24-23 or something?
Yeah.
I was very concerned about the NC State game. Dynamic quarterback and a good coach who's been there for a long time. But we just, I mean, I didn't, this was the only game all season that I legitimately did not get to watch. We had we had a huge member tournament at the club. I was at work from 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. I think.
Good God.
And I was, but this was the rewatch for this, was awesome. This one convinced me that Mario did have the attention of the team and that the culture changed.
Yes, and that the SMU, I mean, this was just 2 weeks after SMU, and we clearly didn't quit on the season. I was at this game with my parents, and it was one of those games where you're like, it was over from the start. I mean, just pure domination, and you could just kind of sit back, relax, and watch this team go to work. And then at this point, you're like, okay, Miami is definitely still a playoff caliber team. We now have to finish on the road in cold weather at Virginia Tech, at Pitt, our final two. We go at Virginia Tech, and this was the game, I'm sure we all remember, that they would not stop. Like, again, another dominant win, and they wouldn't shut up about the style points, and it got weird at the end because everyone just felt weird, and things were forced, and there was just some bad penalties and bad calls, and 34-17 final, we score on the last second, but I hated everything about this game because I'm like, why are we in this position that we have to do style points?
Yeah, I thought this was the Louis Riddick broadcast. They just wouldn't stop talking about the style points, and the touchdown at the end. It was a dominating win, but I think you started to see. I mean, to me, I took it, and I do at this point take it as this was when it clicked with Mario. I didn't take it as he was forcing points onto the board. I took it as like he let loose. He relinquished control and was like, it was like a fun spirited, like, we're not gonna let our foot off the gas. The guys, we're just gonna keep going for it. And I think that's what the team looked like. This was another Malachi Toney masterclass game as well, and Carson Beck started to run into form too. But it just, it was a dominant victory. Wasn't this, what did ESPN call this? Miami squeaks by Virginia Tech?
It was something worded like that, or like Miami escapes, Miami survives.
Yeah.
This was a dominant victory on the road against a big rival.
Yes.
Like, it was
a win in Blacksburg is always good in my book.
When I saw the narrative after this game, I was like, yeah, they're going to leave us out. I this narrative is insane about what's happening. And then we go into the last game of the season. The chances of making the ACC championship at this point, it's not good. So this is most likely your last opportunity to show anything before the playoff committee. And this, Curt, this is a game to me that is not talked about enough. We beat Pitt on the road, a ranked Pitt team, to finish the season. Pitt, by the way, who's playing for an ACC berth, they're trying to make the championship. We beat them 38-7 on the road. I don't know if it's not talked about enough because it was like the last games of the season were happening. Everyone's just talking about playoffs. This was a giant win.
I know Pitt was ranked for this game,
Yeah.
but I think if this was like an SEC kind of thing, I mean, I think Pitt was better than Tennessee this year. They were better than Missouri this year, and those were two teams that were ranked all season long. Right. I think this Pitt team was good. They found something with this freshman quarterback, and they were. This was up to the It was a huge game. It was an absolutely massive game. And once again, I just think the freedom and the focus that this team played with, that's a game for me that's like, we were not only ready for the playoff, but the players, we used that game as like a springboard. We wouldn't play a game for another month. But I think that game ultimately gave us a ton of momentum. It focused the team, and it was huge. That was a huge win.
And then ultimately it would be enough as your Miami Hurricanes would make it into the college football playoff over Notre Dame as the 10 seed. Almost didn't get in. The odds were in Notre Dame's favor. People were betting on Notre Dame to get in over Miami. Miami gets in. Yes, the leaks. Jimmy was all over the leaks and the FanDuel and the All-State playoff predictor.
Yeah.
My God.
All-State playoff.
And ultimately, Miami gets in, and less than a month later, we are playing for the national championship.
Yes.
You beat Texas. Listen to who you have now beaten. Everybody, if you're listening to this recap, and then we've obviously recapped the last few weeks in the last few episodes, you beat a top. What was Notre Dame, number 6? I should have had these
national runner-up.
Now I'm just
national runner-up from the year before.
National runner-up from the year before. They are a top 10 team when you play them. You beat them. You beat a ranked USF team, number 18 USF.
Yep. You
then go and you beat a ranked Florida State team. Or they're somewhere in top 20.
Number 18.
Number 18. Another number 18. You win. You then go and you beat a ranked Pitt team. What was Pitt? Number
22.
Mm-hmm. You then beat a number 7 ranked Texas A&M team, a number 2 Ohio State team, and a number 6 Ole Miss team. That is your path to now be playing for the national championship. We can talk about, obviously, the teams of the early, or the teams in the 80s. They were just like the bad boys of football. Football had never seen anything like them. The 2001 team was the greatest football team of all time. 17 first-round picks on that team. I'm not saying this is that team, but the path to get there is the most impressive path I've ever seen.
Yeah. It'll be, and again, hopefully we can put a bow on this so we can really celebrate it and really, properly memorialize these guys. But I mean, even thinking back to the year before is like, because you're talking about dominating Florida and Florida State 2 years in a row.
Yes.
You're
state
talking
champs
about
handedly.
State champs handedly. You're talking, because I would include in that, dominating a rising USF team whose coach has now moved on to Auburn.
Yeah.
2 years
Who
in
was
a row.
almost a playoff team too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then you talk about the only losing 4 ACC games in 2 years. When's the last time we did that? Somehow we didn't make the conference championship. That's I guess that's the funny part of this, is that doesn't even come up anymore, and I think
doesn't matter.
That in itself is the problem for the ACC, but it's not our problem.
No.
But you're talking about Mario Cristobal, is tied for second in conference wins over a 2-year span, back to back. Double-digit win seasons. The building of, you started with Cam Ward and having, in my opinion, the best player in the country, although technically he didn't win the Heisman. But the defense being the letdown, to then flipping it and now having a defensive unit that is arguably the best in the country. It's an incredible 2-year stretch, and just to get back onto your point and where you were going is I do agree, like, this season is going to be remembered as something special, and I think what's going to happen in the next year in 26, 27, 28, 29, I think is going to continue to make this team more special, because I think it's the break. We needed a breakthrough, and I think that this team broke through.
They certainly did, and you know what they also broke through is that Fiesta Bowl curse. So as we think about this Ole Miss win, we wanted to take you through this season because it's important to just like sit and reflect on how we got here. I mean, it's so easy to just move on to the next game and be like, all right, like, what's next? It's like, let's think about what we've been through the last 20 years, what we've been through this season, and how this team got to where they're at. And then this Fiesta Bowl was it was one of those games where you were just like, Miami is going to find a way to lose this game, even though it feels like we should be up 100. And I just accepted it. I was like, it's one of those nights. This is just how this ends, with Miami losing a game in which they dropped 5 interceptions, and there was kicks doinked off posts into kicks doinked in, and there was stupid penalties. There was Inez Cooper, who never gets a freaking penalty called on him, gets 2 false starts in a matter of 4 plays or something. I was just like, yeah, it's the Fiesta Bowl. It's the curse.
Yeah. Yeah. It also included, a classic David Blay offside right over the football. I mean, the man's nose is got to give it to football.
Him. Once a game.
Yeah, it is. That's what I'm saying. Print the shirts. It is once a game. He's good for one right over the football. And then, of course, he has the personal foul. This was one of those games.
Such a stupid personal foul. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
When my wife thinks I'm a lunatic, and I stress about the game I'm nitpicking, and I'm yelling, and I'm upset about these little things that are going wrong. And this game was a perfect example. It's a perfect reason why.
Exactly.
Because the way that these things build, it felt like it was building to where we should have blown them out. We should have been comfortably ahead in the first half. And the mistakes start to pile up, the penalties. I thought beyond like Inez Cooper's false starts, I hadn't seen I don't know if he was embarrassed. He's such a dog, and he looked like
he was just dejected.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone just hang his head when it happened. Then he's in the huddle, and people are lifting his head up.
Yes,
dude, it's a false start.
That was it. Mark Fletcher was lifting his chin up in the huddle, and I thought, what is going on?
Yeah.
Are we really but it ends up, for the rest of America and ESPN, you're welcome. It ends up being a classic college football game that's going to be talked about forever. I mean, this is going to be the college football playoff couldn't have been happier with how this shook out. But it felt like torture for a lot of this game. It felt like torture because you could clearly see the direction that it was heading. And ultimately the difference is that, once again, as we just described throughout this journey of the season, is that this team is different. It's not, we're hoping that it's different, but ultimately they proved it, that they are different. And the way that they responded, it was just, it's like, what a testament to this coaching staff and to the leaders on this team, the guys who have been here for 3 and 4 years.
Yeah.
Just incredible to not go away.
I mean, and Mario Cristobal says that it's a team that doesn't flinch, and the only way that you can be a team that does not flinch in adversity is if you it's the way you prep, it's the way you practice, and it sounds like coach speak, but when you actually see it happening in real time, it's like, yeah, this team has prepared for this moment. Carson Beck said after the game, like, the stuff being down with 2 minutes to go is something that they work on every single week, and it's just down to, like, it's almost muscle memory for them at this point. They just got to go out and execute, and my God, did they execute. The fourth quarter was insane. It was 17-16 to start the fourth quarter. Your final score is 31-27. It was back and forth. Ole Miss takes the lead with a field goal with, like, how much time to go? They take the lead.
3 minutes and 13. Or the
field
touchdown.
goal's at 7 minutes left.
I'm sorry. Yeah. That's right.
We then get a touchdown to go up 24-19 with 5 minutes left. Ole Miss then comes, scores the touchdown. I mean, we talked about it going into the game. Trinidad Chambliss, he was going to be the one to watch, and he made plays. We knew he would, and he just kept making plays. And we kept making dumb plays. We kept dropping interceptions and having penalties. And then ultimately, Miami gets the ball back with 3 minutes and 13 seconds left. And it's a 2-minute, 55-second drive. And it ends with this.
24, Ole Miss 27. Here comes the big moment. Beck takes, drops, looks, wants to throw it.
You got it.
Carson Beck into the end zone. He runs it in over the left side. Carson Beck takes it in for a Miami touchdown. Carson Beck is your Hurricanes hero. Miami wins 31-20. 24, Ole Miss 20.
Thank you, Joe Zagacki, for that call. Yeah.
Don Bailey, that was awesome.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I blacked out. It was when it opened and he took off, I was just like, what just happened? There has to be a penalty. Where's the holding? Unbelievable. Carson Beck with his hurricane moment, his career moment, and it was just, you can't write it any better than that.
No. I think his performance in this game was, and I know we'll do the Storm Awards and stuff,
yes.
But his performance in this game to me was kind of a microcosm of the season, and just it perfectly encapsulates who he is, because there were some moments where I was infuriated at Carson Beck and I thought he wasn't very good. I thought his awareness in the pocket at times was pretty pathetic, and I think Ole Miss sacked him 5 times. And I think all 5 were I would blame Carson Beck. I just thought he wasn't sliding. He really wasn't moving up in the pocket. He definitely wasn't moving left very often in the pocket. He kept kind of bailing out to the right and getting himself into trouble. But and he missed some throws. But ultimately, when we needed him, he was outstanding. On third down, once again, he was fantastic. Yeah. In the fourth quarter, he was fantastic. When he needed to run, he was fantastic. When the team needed a lift and a boost with his voice, he was fantastic. So that's.
I mean, should we get started with Storm Awards? Is he a Hurricane of the game?
He has to be.
Yeah,
I mean, it was absolutely, without Carson Beck at the helm. I mean, even the talk going into the game. Oh, he's been a game manager. He hasn't thrown for over 150 yards yet.
Yeah,
he was just locked in, bro. I mean, the Keelan Marion one was awesome.
Oh my gosh, just in that situation to be able to throw it across the middle of the field, and then some of the back shoulder he was hitting and the big third down conversions, and he looked so calm back there. And it wasn't anything that we saw in like the Louisville game where it looked like he was just scared to throw a pick. Like in the biggest moment on the biggest stage, zero fear. It was unbelievable, and it's why we brought him in. He was already kind of working his way up the Hurricane quarterbacks of all time lore in Hurricane history because of what we had accomplished this season. And in one drive, he just skyrocketed up that list and puts himself among the names of the greats simply because of what he did in that single drive. Like, it was unbelievable the way that he led us there.
I mean, you think about the way that sometimes it was he covered all of his bases. He took the throws he needed to. He put the ball into places. I think you could argue like his ball placement, ultimately led to the face mask defensive pass interference on Keelan Marion on that big third down because he threw a nice back shoulder pass. The Malachi Toney catch that wasn't a catch, but that was, like the catch of the year was like, again, it's just like little thing, whatever. Like he's putting the ball in a spot where like it's a throwaway, but like if one of our guys is gonna get it, that's fine. Yeah. He looked off. I think there was a Keelan Marion on third down, a deep dig route where we ran a screen. I think it was a bluff screen to the right, and we wanted Malachi Toney coming on like a short, skinny post in the left slot. Neither of them were there, and Keelan Marion was on a deep dig behind Malachi Toney, and that's what let us down. Keelan Marion caught it on like the 12-yard line, roughly. But that was a veteran quarterback who knows his progressions and made his way over to his second or third. I'd call it his third read, just because he had to fake the screen pass. But I mean, and then for it to lead to him using his legs, it was awesome.
Yeah. So I think it's fair to say that we both, Carson Beck is our Hurricane of the game. It'd be disrespectful to pick anybody else. You just can't do it. It was just one of the biggest moments that in the recent Miami Hurricanes history. Okay, tropical storm of the game. Tropical storm player of the game. This one's a little harder.
It is, but I'm just gonna stick with a guy who was my eye of the hurricane coming into the college football playoff, and his story just gets better and better, I think, each week. And I think we're calling this. I think one of you guys put it out on socials this week, but this was the Mark Fletcher flu game. Mm-hmm. I think at this point is what we've heard is he had the flu and he was hunched over on the sideline.
Yeah,
in the second half a few times, and I thought he was hurt, but now looking back, it was like he was really sick and he was like about to pass out. So, but yeah, I mean, listen, 6 yards per carry. He went 133 yards. So he has now rushed for almost 500 yards, I believe, or 450-ish yards in 3 games. Mm-hmm. And with the loss of his father and what we know about, the story with his mother is very cool, and how she drives to all the games and all the miles that she's covered in the past month. But, the unselfish teammate that he is, he's helped to bolster the running back room by recruiting guys and wanting to have a committee approach. I mean, once again, Marty Brown, the bulk of his carries were inside the 10-yard line. Mark Fletcher has probably been shorted 2 touchdowns in this run as well. But Mark Fletcher is my tropical storm. He was just, once again, he was good.
First of all, I don't know how these guys play with the flu like that. Like, when I have the flu, I literally cannot get off my couch. And they go and perform on the biggest stage and perform well. His patience running the football it's unlike anything I've ever seen. There was one where he was just he was just sitting back there, letting some blocks take place, and then boom, he just takes it to the outside. Maui Noah does a terrific job of not holding in those situations and kind of just letting the play happen. But Mark Fletcher, I think he struggled a little bit earlier in his career with being almost too patient. He would just sometimes not, but he's now so good at kind of sitting there, letting the hole develop and then just go. Gosh, he's been so good for us.
He's coming back.
And he's coming back. He is coming back, and he's helping recruit portal guys to come in as running backs. He's He's the biggest cheerleader of the running back room. Love that guy. I'm going to go with Mr. Keelan Marion. Curt, did you know that Keelan Marion was predominantly a special teams guy going into the season? Keelan Marion, for you to have your biggest game as a Miami Hurricane, for it to happen at this point, it's all we could ever ask for. The guy, his hands this year, like I can't. He had a couple drops earlier in the season, and then he's just been so solid for us. The third down conversions that he had were giant. His route running has been terrific. He caught 7 of 10 targets, 114 yards. He had that giant touchdown where he broke free on that broken play. But I really just think back to the final drive and some of the catches he made there. And then drawing that pass interference, him and C.J. Daniels both just came through very clutch. Really, all of our receivers. I mean, we don't drop footballs. Even Josh Moore coming in and making some unbelievable snags. It's just like, I was just so pleased with our entire wide receiver group. But Keelan Marion had his biggest game as a Miami Hurricane, most impactful, I would say.
Yep, I agree. They block really well,
oh my
too.
Gosh, they block
I
so
think
well.
what I saw on that fourth down, or on the last drive of the last offensive drive for us in the fourth quarter, rather, was you see this a lot. Announcers or commentators talk about it a lot in the NFL. But receivers on third and fourth downs running their routes to the sticks and not cutting them short.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember, C.J. Daniels ran a little hitch route on the bottom of the TV screen. It was like 4th and 7, or was it 3rd and 7?
3rd and 7, yes.
3rd and 7. And he ran it to 8 yards and then turned around and caught it at 7.
Right.
And the little stuff like that, every single one of Keelan Marion's big catches on that last drive were just beyond the sticks. So that's just attention to detail that a lot of guys miss.
Yes, it is. But
Keelan, at the point where C.J. Daniels got hurt in the season, you talk about like a guy stepping up.
Yeah,
we thought it was going to be JoJo Trader. But it was ultimately Keelan Marion. He's been Mr. Third Down for the last 2 months of the season. He's just been so good.
Yes. And that was, I think, earlier in the game too. It happened with him and Malachi Toney, and what you're saying with like Carson Beck. Like the game was crazy because first half I'm like, gosh, Carson Beck is missing throws and we've got guys running free and you started to get a little disappointed. But then, that last drive, it wipes every negative Carson Beck's ever done in my mind. My God, I'll never forget it. Okay, your tropical depression of the game. There's a few depressing moments here.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go. The David Blay thing is just driving me nuts, man.
Yeah.
His 2 penalties. Ole Miss's first 19 points were a direct result of either a Miami dropped interception or a Miami penalty.
Yeah. And
the game breaker, the Kewan Lacey run, it was David Blay. Ole Miss is obviously, this is like in Pop Warner, you're like hip to this stuff where the quarter is running down. Ole Miss doesn't have to run a play. Everyone knows they're not going to run a play. They get up to the line, and that all they're doing is running a hard count. And the man, his nose is touching the football, and he jumps off sides. It's right under his face.
Yeah.
And he jumps off sides. And the next play, it goes to the end of the quarter. We come back from commercial, and there goes Kewan Lacey, 78 yards, galloping through the middle of the field.
Yeah.
And then his personal foul call was a 15-yard penalty or half the distance to the goal where Ole Miss was driving. And,
I'm like, dude, like, what? Did he just glitch out there? Like, what are you doing? The guy has been on the ground for multiple seconds, and you just launch your shoulder. And what made those the early ones, jumping off sides and then the blown run, like what made all that even more painful is that was right when Moten went out with an injury, and then it's just like he comes in and does that. It's just got to be infuriating for the entire defense. The guy makes great plays other times,
he's a good player.
Which makes it frustrating. My tropical depression of the game, Curt, is the narrative, the storyline surrounding this final play of the game. I'm looking at a CBS article here that says, this is CBSsports.com. It says, what's the title of the article? Oh gosh, I'm an idiot. The title of the article is Miami vs. Ole Miss controversial ending. What happened on Ole Miss's controversial final play Hail Mary? Did Miami commit pass interference? They'll be talking about the end of the Miami's Fiesta Bowl win over Ole Miss for a long time after a controversial play punctuated an all-time thriller of a game. Are you kidding me? We are talking about a Hail Mary where there is two players that are just arm fighting like happens on every Hail Mary. It's absolute chaos. And, of course, they wouldn't call a pass interference penalty on that. It's not controversial. I literally saw right before the player gets into the end zone, him just throwing his hand into our face mask. Like, that doesn't get called. It's insane that anyone is calling this controversial, and the fact that CBS Sports is saying Miami controversial ending in the Ole Miss game. No, it wasn't. It was a Hail Mary. I mean, Ole Miss got the ball with 18 seconds left. What are we talking about here? It was... I can't even deal with it, but that's my tropical depression, the audacity to call this controversial.
I was bothered by it when, we're celebrating and ESPN's got it going in slow motion. ESPN freaking called it up and had it ready to go, before the confetti was on the field.
Yeah.
And
the slow-mo.
Part of me, I can't help but think that because it was the Fiesta Bowl and because it had happened, Miami was on the other side of it, in the past. I just think that was on the forefront of everyone's mind.
Right.
And I think the ESPN producer, I would just guarantee you that was his kind of angle of like wanting to start to push that. And, I'm glad, I guess it's gone a little more mainstream than I thought. I hadn't seen ESPN or CBS Sports putting that article out. But I think most people have moved on. And I think Ole Miss, their beef still lies with Lane Kiffin. It doesn't lie with Miami. I think, again, the way Miami looked, it just we get the benefit of the doubt because we were so much better than them.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this game shouldn't even come down to a Hail Mary.
No, the refs are taught, they don't interject themselves. They don't affect the outcome of a game. And that, by the way, that's why the Ohio State game in 2002 was so ridiculous. Is because
you just don't make that call.
The purpose of officiating is to be the opposite. It's not. You don't want anyone to ever think back to, that Fiesta Bowl was the pass interference play.
Right. Yeah.
That's
like if they called pass interference on this last Hail Mary, the uproar would just be insane.
It wasn't going to happen. It's never going to happen.
No.
It's not going to gain any traction.
Yeah. Shame on you, CBS, and then ESPN for showing a slow-mo of the hands fighting. Okay. Any honorable mentions? I got an honorable mention for you.
Sure.
How about the true freshman Antoine?
Jabari
Antoine coming in replacing. I mean, we had injuries, just injury galore on the defense, and he comes in and is immediately just thrown into the fire, having to make some unbelievable defensive plays. He makes some big-time plays. He ends up getting called for a pass interference that it's like, I guess you watch it in slow-mo, there was a little hold, but it was like that's just it's good D on a slant, and he really held his own. I was just proud of him and the way that he stepped in there. It continues the trend of true freshmen balling on this team.
Yeah. I mean, I think Charlie Weiss Jr. was, and this is not wrong of him. You know, he's identifying mismatches, but he went at him 3 times in a row, I think, on his first 3 plays.
Yeah.
But obviously didn't like the Xavier Lucas call, and I haven't heard. Miami's got to protest that, right? Like, and maybe get that overturned, because that's ridiculous. He's going to.
Has that ever happened? Has it ever been overturned?
I don't know, but it was so inconsistent from the one on Ole Miss, the Ole Miss one in the first half. It makes no sense. Targeting is still a mystery.
It is.
You know, ultimately we're down Xavier Lucas, Damari Brown, OJ Frederick.
Yeah.
These guys, this is what Mario talks about when he talks about competing on the green tree. Is like, these guys come in and the kid looks like he's 12.
He really does.
I mean, and
he's so skinny, and
he is. And I remember this recruitment because he's from Louisiana, and Auburn and Alabama were thought to be like the only competition aside from LSU, and Miami kind of plucked him out of nowhere. And I don't think he was ever really committed for that long. I think he signed with us, if my memory is not foggy. But either way, it was, you know, taking a top cornerback out of the state of Louisiana, and seeing him, you know, pop in, and he ends up with 2 tackles and a deflection, and this is, you know, when we need him the most. So I'm with you. That was awesome.
And again, we have to change the targeting rule. There's got to be we've said it, like with the flagrant 1, flagrant 2. You cannot get ejected for a hit like that. Maybe it's helmet to helmet.
The Joe Nugent 2-strike rule.
Make it happen. Make it helmet to helmet. If you want it to be 15 yards, whatever. It's still soft, but okay. You cannot eject the guy and then have him miss the first half of the national championship. It is inexcusable. Just can't happen.
No, I gotta give one. CC Maui Noah.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
He was unbelievable. I mean, there's so many plays you can point to him, but I think the Carson Beck touchdown run, the game winner, that's just Joe. Yeah. He blocked. He took care of his first man at the line of scrimmage, and then when Carson Beck is dropped 6 or 7 or 8 yards back and begins to climb in the pocket and move up and to the left, he doubles back and takes out the defender who is looping around to chase down Carson Beck from the backside. Would have caught him.
Yeah.
Just this guy, I think he's the best right tackle in the history of the University of Miami, and I don't say that lightly. We've had some good ones. He's one of the best tackles in the history of the. I'm not gonna probably Bryant McKinney is. You know, listen, we'll see. The point is that CC Maui Noah is one of the best offensive linemen to ever play at the University of Miami, and we're talking about Pro Football Hall of Famers, College Football Hall of Famers, and a number of All-Americans. And this guy is one of the best. And I just think the foundation of Mario wanting to build this team the way that he wanted to, going out and getting CC Maui Noah and then Samson Okunlola. I mean, because you can talk the talk, you can talk and say that you want to build an offensive line, but when you go get the number 1 offensive lineman in the country, and he becomes a day 1 starter and then a 3-year starter,
and then keeps getting developed.
Getting developed. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. I don't see. I would bet you actually, come May, I don't see him being talked about like this yet, and I think it's because, you know, the teams are however this shakes out. I think whoever ends up with whatever Las Vegas does with it, I think I can't see him falling out of the top 3.
No,
and I think he should be the number 1 overall pick.
I know.
The Oakland Raiders, they allowed the most sacks in the NFL this year.
Right.
Get your bookend tackle. I think a professional team is going to talk themselves into, getting a guy like CeCe Maui-Noa maybe at number 1 overall. But gosh, he was so good.
He was, and then I want to put a bow on the Ole Miss game with something that Kirk Herbstreit said at the end of the game. Let me play this.
And I just want to say one thing, in covering these games this year, in the midst of the portal and the calendar and all the swirling noise that's around this sport, one thing that I think we've been able to witness firsthand, if you're a coach watching this or a GM watching this, while you're chasing 5 stars and agents, street agents, and everything you're dealing with, you better build a team. Indiana, they don't have a lot of 5 stars. You know what they got? They got a team. This is still a team sport, and it's about winning games. Did you hear Miami when they got up on Jacoby Thomas? I mean, he almost had tears in his eyes talking about, I'm going to play for my guys. Like, if you don't build that and you just chase 5 stars, you're never going to be here on that stage. You better stop chasing just this craziness, and you better step. And I just want.
Yeah, I think that is something that we have talked about in nauseum on this podcast. Is Mario Cristobal? He is an elite recruiter. Yes, we use the portal a lot, but we use it to just fill gaps, and we use it to get guys that fit the Miami culture. We said it. We picked up on this early on, and it just becomes more true and true every game of just the amount of portal guys that are throwing up the U after scores, or just like they completely buy in to what this program's all about, and you just can't get that. Like, yeah, you can go offer up the biggest bag to the biggest recruit and the biggest portal person, but if they don't fit your culture, you're going to be a mess. And we've seen that across the country. But the Miami Hurricanes have built a team because they built it doing in-state recruiting out of high school. They fill in gaps using the portal, but it's the right guys that fit the program.
Yep. And I think you could even point to what's going on right now. I mean, because we've also discussed this was a big portal class, and kind of what direction were we going. Mm-hmm. And I think we picked up 2 guys today in the portal, and listen, I'm not saying we're going to end with 0 or end with 2, but until today, we had not had we were one of the only Power 4 teams in the country that had not signed anyone from the transfer portal yet. Yeah. And we've only lost 8 guys, and none of them are major holes.
Right.
Did we sign 30 in this class, or was it 20? 30 or 29? 29, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about, to me, this is not like the difference between a Mike Norvell and a Mario Cristobal is like, obviously where we've seen this go is Mike Norvell has no idea what he's doing. He doesn't have he never had a long-term plan. He hit and got lucky, but he couldn't sustain it because he didn't have a long-term plan. He completely ditched high school recruiting for his portal thing. And then the next year it flopped, and now he's had to, I think it's kind of a sunken ship scenario, right? But Mario has a plan. He built it through recruiting, then he backfilled in the portal, and now he's going back to this year. He's gone back to the recruiting trail to build this roster, with some more homegrown players, and I just think he clearly has a plan there. So I absolutely agree, and obviously the culture is. It's so rock solid. It's so rock solid. We're now seeing guys like Bain and Maui Noah and Basainth are going to be passing along the culture to Malachi Toney and Marquise Lightfoot and Bryce Fitzgerald and the guys that are coming next, and that's a good thing. It's not where it's just different. It's different.
Mm-hmm. It is a beautiful thing. And yeah, man, I don't ever want to not feel this feeling. But we've got now Indiana. It will be a stern test. I know we're already an hour and 9 minutes into this podcast. We will have another podcast focusing on Indiana, focusing on this national championship. But for now, Curt, leave us with your eye of the hurricane for this game. What are we focusing on? What's going to be the difference maker? How do we get number 6 under our belt? What's it going to take?
I think my eye of the hurricane's got to be Brock Schott.
Here we yes, it's a good point. My God. So for people that don't know, Curt, fill us in. Who is Brock Schott and why is he of worry for us?
This is truly an unbelievable, once again, how disastrous and what a complete failure, and just the ineptitude of the NCAA and what they've allowed to happen, what this transfer portal window and the lack of rules, what all this has led to is that you have a guy who is Miami goes into the state of Indiana in 2024 and takes the top tight end recruit in the state of of Indiana, and Brock Schott comes down to the University of Miami and spends the entire season in the program, in the meeting rooms with the offensive staff at practice, learning the signals. He is a player on the football team, very much a part of this football team. And 2 weeks ago, after the Texas A&M game, or was it after Ohio State even? This was really recent. I think he's been there for 10 days or so, if I'm not mistaken. He ultimately decides to leave and go back home to his home state of Indiana and go to Indiana University. And at first it's like, okay, I think we can understand. It makes sense, right? Now we get to this national championship and you start to think, as I see our guys, we've got freshmen who are, again, like I said, we hadn't signed anyone from the portal yet, but we've had freshmen, this freshman class, they're all enrolling and they're on campus. They're at practice in pads. Yeah. They're traveling to the game.
Yeah, they're at the games.
So now we're dealing with a situation where a player who spent the entire season with Miami has now spent the last 10 days and will spend the next 7 days with Indiana, our opponent for the national championship game.
It's crazy. I don't understand how portal players
It's ridiculous.
Because of the schedule, you can transfer and enter. How you're able to go on campus and join the team in that same season, it's insane. Bro,
I didn't realize, even in the Ole Miss game, I'm thinking Miami, I talked about the lack of coaches that Ole Miss had going into that game and how much that preparation was going to hurt them. I didn't think about the fact it almost ended up being they had all of the new coaches there. You're talking about guys like LSU's coach was on the Ole Miss sideline in Ole Miss gear. Yeah. The new offensive coordinator, the guy from was he from Western Kentucky or I can't remember. He was on the side. They all have headsets on, and it's like, insane. Wait, I think we actually. It's like they doubled. We went against more. We had. It's just. But this is a mess, and it's like, honestly, I don't know how we can't legitimately be concerned about Brock Schott being a part of the Indiana program now. What that's going to, and on top of that, I mean, we're not going to, in my opinion, at least, not going to go down the road of the conspiracy talk and stuff. Indiana's well coached and they deserve respect, and we're going to have to beat them on the field. But it certainly makes it interesting. I mean, it's like this guy is in the pro. You don't think those guys are asking him like what the signals are, what are the tendencies? They're going to want to know everything about Carson Beck and about Shannon Dawson. And I don't 100%. No one can offer up any explanation for how that could possibly make sense or be fair.
No. And it's one thing, it's like teams like Indiana they got guys that called Ohio State guys and try to get like intel, like what'd you guys see, all that. It's different when it's a player that knows exact plays. Yeah. And so now Miami's got to sit here and be like, now you have to spend time this week changing a lot of signals up, a lot of certain play calls. It just adds another wrinkle and like another worry that just shouldn't happen. It's crazy. Yeah. The whole schedule's crazy, but you will not hear Mario Cristobal complain about it. It is what it is. That's a good eye of the hurricane. Yeah, I mean, honestly, my eye of the hurricane is like, we have to play the cleanest game of football we've ever played. That's how you beat Indiana. They are just a very well-coached, disciplined team. We have to play completely buttoned up, and I think the flu probably had something to do with it. It sounded like a lot of guys on our team were sick. There was just a little kind of brain fog and some just lapse of judgment that we saw. And I mean, a guy like Inez Cooper getting 2 false starts is like, it just doesn't happen. So
I think that explains his, and I think I watched like a 3-minute compilation of Ruben Bain highlights, and it was incredible how well he played, but you're watching the video and it's like something's off, and it's just his motor. He was a little slow, and I was concerned that he was hurt, but I think it's the sickness.
Yeah,
I think that's what it was.
If you're sick and you've been sick all week and you're just like, even just muscle twitchness is in the like all of that gets affected. So I think there is something to be said there. But so I think it'll be cleaned up. I think we'll be a lot sharper. But that's what's going to take against Indiana. I do think Miami's more. I mean, I think Miami's more talented than Indiana. It's just talent isn't all that goes into this. Is Indiana? I mean, they're old. That's an old team, and they're well coached, and they've got. It almost seems like they know what play you're calling, but we will not get into that conspiracy. We will respect the opponent. Okay, a lot more to go with this game. We will get into it all week. We will drop another episode because it's National Championship week. A week from today, we play Hard Rock Stadium, 7:30 p.m. for everything. For number 6, for glory, for the U to be back, for Mario Cristobal to finally say the U is back. Let's close with Best of X. What do we got? I think I have one. Yes, I do have one. You got one?
Yeah, I do. I've got a couple. I like this one from OptaStats just to highlight our absolute dominance and what we did to Ole Miss in that game. And everyone should be proud of it, But Miami is the only FBS or NFL team in the last 20 years to do the following: hold the ball for 40-plus minutes, amass 400-plus yards of offense, convert 10-plus third downs, convert multiple fourth downs, and have 4 drives of 13-plus plays all in the same game. Wow. How incredible is that?
So we must have won by what? 21? Yeah. Gosh.
40?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Mine is way dumber than that one. I've got Huevos Banchero at Huevos Banchero. He says, Mike Norvell must be so confused watching these playoff teams, like when early man discovered fire. Just cracked me up, but he's got to be there. And we felt this. We have felt this as Miami fans when you watch other teams and you're like, we are so far from whatever that is. Like, our team is so far from that. FSU's got to be sitting there in absolute hell right now, being like, we just went 2-10. We have lost our entire team in the portal. We can't get anybody. And this Miami team is completely back and looks like they're just going to reload. That's got to be tough.
Yeah, sure does. I wish I sent this. This is my last one. I wish we had the audio for it, but I'm sure you guys have all seen it by now, or most of you. But it was Mario Cristobal at the podium, as the VRBO lady is trying to get on with the trophy presentation, and he's like, "Can we get the players up here and get all these other people out of the way?"
Wanted nothing to do with the sponsorship.
Shell-shocked the lady. She could barely speak after that.
Yeah,
She
and then
stumbled through.
When she was giving a speech and he's just staring at her, and he's like, just like eyebrow raised. How about Kevin Beard giving him a hug on the sidelines with 18 seconds to go, and Mario Cristobal saying, "Get the F off me." Love it. The guy is insane.
He went at it. He went at Scott Van Pelt too.
He said, "Don't even mention it." Oh my gosh, too good. Yeah, he did a little air fighting, fist fighting, sparring with Pat McAfee on the field.
Right. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yep.
Love it. All right, everybody. That is our show. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, let's have a week. Soak it all in. All right. I know we have a big game on Monday. There's going to be all this stress and anxiety leading up to it. But let's just enjoy the week leading up to it of your Miami Hurricanes playing in the national championship. I've been wearing Miami gear every day in New York City, and I have gotten so many comments. It's unbelievable. It just could not be a better feeling. Enjoy it. And then 7:30 p.m. Monday, we got plenty of time to stress and cry and sweat.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get back on here at some point. Look for us again on YouTube.
Yes.
We'll have to get Jimmy in here. You know, I hate to pile on, but wow, just we're missing Jimmy today.
He's been MIA a little bit
show.
recently, and we need to get him on because he thinks Indiana's cheating. You know it, yes, and he will have something to say about it. All right, everybody, have a great week. Thanks for tuning in, and like Curt said, we will be back on this pod to really dig into Indiana soon. But until then, go Canes. Let's go win number 6.